Alright guys, welcome back, and we are doing problem number 2 over here. Let's mention first what we are doing is problem 1 of ledgers. Alright, and secondly we have completed journal entries over here. Look at that. All journal entries which were present in the question, every transaction present in the question is generalized. Look, it's a general of transactions we have converted into journal entries. And the next target is to convert all of these journal entries into ledgers. And for ledger, I have already just made the format. First line would be used for the heading. Here is your first line. This is where you will put the title of the ledger, and then you have columns over here. You can see columns from here to your left side is having headings similar. So what I'm just dividing into two parts. Here you can see that I have divided it. Here date, particulars, journal folio amount, again date, particular, journal folio and amount. So what you can see that it has been divided into two parts. The first side over here would be considered as your debit side. So we can write here debit, and the other side on which is on the right side, it would be considered as your left side, and this left side would be considered as debit. In general, we have seen debit was the first line and credit was the second line, and here whole portion is divided into two parts. The left portion which you are looking at would be considered as debit side, and the right side which you are looking over here would be considered as your credit side. So this way ledger is divided among two parts. And now what you will do, you will start its posting from the journal entries. The rule is very simple. Whenever you will see anything upon here on debit side, let's arrange. I was looking for this border so that you can understand these are two different aspects of ledger. So we have divided it into two parts. One side you can see is debit, the other side you can see is credit. Let's divide it again. So we can have a different color over here and one different color over here. Why I'm doing it? You may say that it is unnecessary. We have understood, but it was very important for me that you can understand there are two sides, one of which is debit, the other one is credit. I was willing to let you understand the rule. Basically, when you are going to make ledger of anyone, any element present in this journal, so there would be a proper way, there will be a regular system. Let's say you are making ledger of cash for the first, and we will make ledger of cash as well. And here is your ledger. Date is also mentioned. Let me show you. So here date is mentioned, and for example you are making your ledger of cash. The very first thing is to put the title over here, since we are making cash ledger. So here you will put the cash first. Let me correct it. Now our target is to make cash ledger, so you will search cash in journal entries. If cash is present on debit side, you will choose same debit side in your ledger. That is what I was willing to let you know. If cash is present on credit side, like here you can see cash is present on credit side, you will choose the credit side. Simple rule is this: debit do debit and credit do credit. If your title is present on debit side, you will choose debit side. If your title is present on credit side, you will choose credit side. And when we are going to put amount, you will see how this would work. And now secondly, you have seen over here what we have written is general folio. It is used for the reference. Normally, when you will be doing these ledger in practical, your organization will tell you how to give the reference. As it is now, it's not very integral part of your question. We will be leaving it out vacant. We will be putting date. Yes, we will be putting particulars. Yes, we will be putting amount. Yes, these elements would be included in making of ledger, but general folio would be vacant. In the same manner, you are looking same headings, date, particulars, amount over here as well. So what does that mean? Same headings are present on credit side, same headings are present on debit side, methodology same, just side is different. And how you will decide the side? I have said you will be concentrating upon your heading, upon title of the ledger is written here. You can see cash. You will search this title from the journal. If it is debit, you will choose the debit side, write amount, particulars and date. If this title is present on credit side, you will write date, particulars and amount, but on opposite side, that means credit side. Let's start our ledger. It's a matter of good understanding. Very first entry is for January 1 and we are responsible to put date first. Now let's see which ledger we are going to start. This is cash ledger and cash is present in our first entry. You can see there are two elements, cash and capital. But we will be focusing upon the title of the ledger only, and that is cash. Cash is present on debit side. Amount you can see is 80,000. We will choose the debit side and we'll put the amount on debit side. Now it's time to put the reference. What is written on the opposite side? Cash was debited by 80,000 and we have posted 80,000 over here. What is written on the opposite side? That is 2 capital. So you are going to write 2 capital, should not be capital letters, 2 capital in particular column, and this is used just for the reference. Okay, now put the date. It was January 1. So here you will write, okay, we can write January 1 over here. Date is completed, posting completed. What does that mean? This 80,000 has been posted. So you can mark it as it has been done. Why we are marking? Here I would like to explain that there are two fears while doing this much long question. And what is that fear? It may be possible when there is whole journal. You can see that so many journal entries are present. It might be possible that one entry can be skipped while entering amount from journal to the ledger. It may be possible entry can be skipped. When you will mark it, you will be satisfied that entry has already been posted, so there will not be any fear of skipping. You will have not to spend time to recheck it as we have marked. And second fear is it might be possible when these are too many journal entries, one entry can be posted twice. This 80,000 is very possible to be posted in ledger for more than one time. If you will mark it, it means our entry has already been posted. You will not be posting it again and again. So fear of skipping and fear of doubling the entry is absolutely minimized if you will mark it. As you have marked it as it has been done, it means this entry will not be logged again. This entry will not be we will not be attentive to this entry again. Cash first entry January 1 is completed. You have marked it as it has been done. Now it's time to see what else entry is containing the cash. What we are making? We are making cash ledger and we are attentive to cash only. You will skip the capital, you will skip the furniture, capital, motor car, everything will be skipped. We will only be attentive upon cash. And here cash has been arrived and this is entry number January 3rd and we have seen cash which is credited. If cash is credit, where we will go? We will choose the credit side and we'll come over here, we'll put the amount on credit side 76,000. As you have posted the amount over here, next step is to write the reference. For reference, you will go to the 76,000. Cash was credited. What is written on the opposite side? That is bank. Bank would be used as reference. So you will come over here and will write by bank. What you are doing, you are using an additional word of by. So if you are writing any element over here under particular in credit column, you will use the word buy, and whenever you are writing anything in the particular column on debit side, you will use the word to as coefficient. Hopefully you have understood. So 76,000 particulars reference has been written for 76,000. This was our entry. Now we are going to put the date. What was the date? That was January 3rd. So we will be writing our date in date column, January 3. Alright, this way we have posted our amount 76,000 over here. 76,000 posting is completed, and you are now need to mark it as it has been done. This 76,000 was posted, so here we have marked it as it has been done. So step by step we will follow each and every amount present over here. Every amount will be posted into the ledger. So it is very important to mark. Cash is credited, we have posted it, it is completed. Now we will see if cash is present anywhere else. Now you can see that after this 76,000, we have seen cash over here. This is your January 10th entry. So obviously it is cash debit 4,000. So you will go to the debit side and will write 4,000 over here. Okay, and now you will see the reference of this 4,000. This was your 4,000. Okay, and what is written on the opposite side? That is to sales. So you will go and write down to sales over here as your reference. It's time to see 4,000 date. So date for 4,000 is January 10. Go upside and write down January 10 is the date. Alright, so you have seen we have posted 4,000. We will go and we'll mark this 4,000 as it has been done. So as we are completing our entries, we will be posting, we will be marking them as completed entries. One will have to see if cash is present elsewhere. Here we are going down, cash was present and we have posted. Now cash was also present in January 8, we have skipped it. So let's post this entry as well. Cash is credited by 400. So since cash is credited, we will go to the credit side and we'll write 400 over here. Mic was down. That's so strange. Okay, let me put the mic first. So 400 is credited. Write down 400 on this side, which is credit side. It's time to see its reference of 400. Here you have put the cash 400 on the credit side. What is written on the opposite side? That is office supplies. So you are needed to put here buy office supplies as a reference with an additional word of buy. It's time to put the date. For 4,000, date was January 10. So we are going to put the date over here, January 10. This way you have completed your posting for amount of 400. Let make a space for the date as well. So 400 posting is completed. This was your 400. It was credited and you have written the reference. Entry is completed. Mark it as it has been done. So let's go again, and after 400 we are now again looking for the cash. Come over here, cash was present on 4,000, we have already posted again. Now you can see over here cash had arrived. Cash is credited by 1,200. We will go to the credit side and we'll write 1,200 over here. Next step is to see the reference of this 1,200. You have posted this entry. Cash was credited. What is written on the opposite side? These are traveling expenses. So you are going to write by traveling expenses. Since we have little short space over here, so there will be a compromised way of writing writing our reference. Instead of writing expenses with the full spelling, we have written just exp for the reference. So right now it's time to see the date for 1200. This was entry in which we have posted, and the date of this entry is January 11. Let's go and put January 11 over here. This way you have completed the posting for 1200 rupees. Let's mark it as this 1200 is already been posted, cash was credited, and we have posted to the credit side. What is written on the opposite side? This is traveling expense. So traveling expense has already been written. Okay, that means this entry has been completed. Cash has been posted correctly. Mark it as it has been done. After this, we will continue our search for cash. Here on January 16, we again have found out the cash which is debited by 6,000. Now, since cash is debit, we will choose debit side and we'll write 6,000 over here. For 6,000, let's see what reference was used. Here you have debited 6,000. What is written on the opposite side? It is to bank. So we'll go and write the reference to bank over here. Let's see what was the date for 6,000. Here was your entry. 6,000 were debited. January 16 is the date. So we're going to put the date January 16 in date column. I think we should have a little more space for it for the dates, and remaining space is okay for us. So what we have done, on January 16, 6,000 was needed to be debited. We had debited 6,000. We had also completed the reference of this cash. It means it is completed. Mark it as it has been done. We again will start our search for cash. Next entry, cash is not present. Yes, cash has arrived here. On what date? January 22nd. We have cash which is credited. We'll go to the credit side of cash ledger and we'll put 1200 again. So we have already posted 1200. Let's see for what purpose this 1200 next is. These were 1200 and we had paid carriage. Carriage is written on the opposite side of cash. This would be used for your reference. So on credit side you will put buy carriage over here with an additional word of buy. So write down carriage over here. Reference is completed. It's time to write down your date as well, but let me make little more space. We will go down and see 1200, entry for 1200, and see its date, that is January 12. Come over here and write down the date January 12 in date column. This way posting of 1200 is completed, and as it is completed, what we have decided, we will immediately mark it as it has been done, because there are so many entries of cash. We do not want to skip any entry and we do not want to repeat any entry. Let's start our search for cash once again. This cash was posted 1200, and next entry is also including cash which is debited by 12,000. We will go to the debit side and we'll write 12,000 on debit side. Let's see why cash was debited by 12,000. Here you can see 12,000 is debited. What is written on the opposite side? That is Babar account receivable. We will go and write Babar, and he was your account receivable. So we will mention it account receivable. It is though very important. After posting this Babar account receivable, we are in need to see what is the date of 12,000. Here is your entry for 12,000 and date is 25th January, and let's put the date January 25th. Date is mentioned, reference is mentioned. It means entry for 12,000 is completed. This cash has been posted. Mark it as it has been done. In this way, we have completed posting of cash for 25th January. Let's start our search again if cash is present again. No, this entry does not include cash. And yes, on January 31A, cash is present on debit side 400. So we will choose debit side and we'll write 400 in amount column. Now let's see what is reference of this 400. This was your entry. Cash was debited. What is written on the opposite side? To commission. So go and write to commission in particulars column, and this would be used as your reference. 400 has been posted. It's time to see its date. This cash has been transferred to its ledger. Date is January 31A. So let's put the date over here, which is January 31A. Date has been posted and still we need a little more space. Entry was for 400 and let's see 400. This was the cash. Cash was debited, posting completed. Mark it as it has been done. So entry for 400 completed for January 31A. Let's see, we have last entry bank charges to bank and cash is not present. It means all posting related to cash is completed. When posting is completed, it's time to calculate the balance, and this is very important moment. You are needed to be very attentive upon that because this would be repeated for so many times. If you will understand right now, that would be an easier thing, that would be a helpful thing for you when we are solving this question and when we are going to make other ledgers in the same question. When you will understand this process of balancing for the first ledger, it would be very easy for you to understand other ledgers as well. Balancing has some steps. Step number one is to calculate sum of both sides. So first you will calculate sum which is present on debit side. Here I will ask Excel to help me and I will calculate the sum. You can see that bluish circle, greenish bluish circle, scale you have seen. All amounts are selected and this would tell us how much sum of debit side is. It is 1,02,400, and same activity we are going to do for the credit side as well. We will sum all the amounts present on credit side and I am choosing all of these amounts. This way you have calculated the sum and we haven't put the right spelling. SUM sum was required to be written. Okay, and one more thing is missing over here. Let's correct it. So sum of credit side 78,000, sum of debit side 102,400. First step is completed. You have summed up both sides. Total of debit side is 102, total of credit side is 78,800. Now make the comparison of both amounts. Debit side 102 and credit side 7800, 78,000. Choose the larger sum. Here we have chosen larger sum is 1,02,400, and what you will do, you will here choose the cell for the total amount, mark it as the total, and there you are going to write 102,400, and you are supposed to do the same on credit side as well. Now please follow these steps. What we have done is we have calculated sum of debit side, we have calculated sum of credit side, after which we have chosen in step number 2, we have chosen the larger sum, and this sum has been written on total of both sides. So there will be objection, you can say that total of credit side was 78, why have we have put 102 over here. This is the way of balancing. Two steps are completed. Now next step is what? Choose the smaller side. Here total was 102 and total of credit side was 78. So this is smaller side. Here you will write in smaller side by balance. This is your initial balance, and how you will calculate this initial balance? By subtracting the smaller sum from the larger sum. So what on calculator you will write? Larger sum minus smaller sum. This way you will be able to calculate your initial balance, and let's calculate it. How what was the larger sum? Here you can see it was 102,400. This was the larger sum, and you will subtract the smaller sum. What was the smaller sum? This was 78,800. So you will subtract smaller sum from the larger sum, and hence you have calculated the balance. This was your balance, and last step of making ledger is what? You will bring this balance to the other side. You have calculated this balance on credit side, and now what you will do? You will take this balance downside. You will take this balance downwards to the opposite side. This is credit side, and this is your debit side, and you will write the same balance 23,600 on the opposite side but downwards, and with a twisted name you will name it as balance, but this balance would be a little different balance. What you will write it as you have brought this balance downward, so this balance would be written as BD. BD for brought down. This is a little twisted name, and this was the requirement for making any ledger. We were making cash ledger. Requirement has been completed as you have calculated your balance brought down. When requirement is completed, it means ledger is completed. Mark it as it has been done by putting a closing line after that. So when cash ledger is completed, why there is let me put it again. So okay, so we have drawn a ending line over here. You can see this is showing that ledger is completed for cash. These amounts were calculated just for the reference, and now they are unneeded over here. So you may erase them. In the purpose of writing has been completed. This way your first ledger is completed. Now it's time to make second ledger. For second ledger, what help I will take from previous ledger? All headings from previous ledgers are same. You are writing date. In the same way you are writing particulars, amount on debit side, date, particulars, amount on credit side. Everything is same. So the only thing you will change is your title. You were making cash ledger, and now you will change the title. How you will choose the next title? Cash you were making, and now you will see next entry which is unmarked. This was the marked entry, and this is unmarked entry. Every amount present on debit side, every amount present on credit side will be posted in the ledgers. So since it is unmarked, that means its ledger is not been made yet. And next ledger we have decided, we have selected is ledger of capital. You will come over here and we'll change the title. Now we are going to make ledger for capital. All right, and in you will also be required to change the title. This is your second ledger. Remaining, you can see that everything is same from date, particulars to amount on debit side, date, particulars, amount from debit side. Rule is same. Just difference would be we are now focusing upon capital. In previous ledger we were looking cash, and now in this ledger we will be looking capital. If capital is debited, we will choose this debit side, and if capital is present on credit side in general, we will choose this side. This is credit side. Let's start our journey to search capital. Here in January 1st, we have found out the capital which is credited by 80,000. So what we will do, we will choose credit side over here and we'll write 80,000. It's time to see its reference. This was your 80,000 which you have posted over here. See, capital was the ledger you were making. What is written on the opposite side? Cash. So cash will be used as reference, and you will use an additional word buy over here. So buy cash would be the reference. Now it's time to see the date. This was 80,000 you have posted. Date for this entry is January 1. So we are going to put January 1 over here. Date is completed. Reference is completed. Amount has been posted. It means all working regarding ledger of this 80,000 is completed. Mark it as it has been done. Since we are making ledger for capital, so we will start our research again to see where capital is present elsewhere. In the very next entry, you can see capital has again arrived. It is credited by 10,000. So you will choose the credit side over here and will write 10,000 in amount column. It's time to see the reference. This 10,000 you have posted on the credit side. What is written on the opposite side is furniture. This will be used for reference, and you will use an additional word of buy. And what was reference? Furniture. So buy furniture you have written in particular column as balance. It's time to see the date. You can see it's January 1A over here for 10,000. So you will put date January 1A over here. This way date has been written, reference has been written, amount has been written 10,000, and in other meanings this 10,000 of capital posting is completed. Mark it as it has been done. We are making capital ledger. Let's start to search capital again. This was January 1A. Now in very next entry you again found out the capital which is credited by 24,000. So we will come again in credit side of capital and we'll write 24,000 over here. It's time to see its reference. This was 24,000 capital you have posted. What is written on the opposite side? That is motor car. So you are in need to put motor car over here as your reference. Reference is completed. Time to see the date. 24,000 capital has been posted, and opposite side motor car was written. It has been written in the reference. January 1B is your date. So put date over here. January 1B is your date. Date is mentioned. Reference is given. Amount has been posted. For capital, it means this posting is completed. Mark it as it has been done. We are making capital ledger. Let's start our search for capital once again. In very next entry, you again found out the capital. This capital is credited by 40,000. So go on credit side of capital and write down 40,000 in amount column. It's time to see its reference. What is written? This amount has been posted on the credit side. What is written on the opposite side? That is stock. Come over here and write down buy stock as a reference. It's time to see the date for 40,000. This 40,000 we have posted, and the date for this entry is January 1C. So put date over here, January 1C. Date is mentioned, reference is mentioned, amount has been posted. So this amount of capital has been posted. Entry completed. Mark it as it has been done, 40,000. Now we will be looking capital once again. Here your search will start and start looking for capital again. We'll have to see each and every entry, every journal entry throughout the whole question. So here the end has been arrived and capital is not present over here. If capital is not present, what does that mean? All posting related to capital is completed. It's time to calculate its balance. For balance, it is easy to understand. We have already calculated the balance over here. Few steps were followed, and same steps we are following over here as well. We will calculate the sum of both sides. So first, let's take the sum of credit side. Here you can see we have 40,000, 24,000, 10,000, 80,000 we have selected, and let's get the sum of all of these amounts. The sum on credit side is 1,54,000, and now you are in need to calculate the sum of debit side as well. But here you can see nothing is present on debit side, so meaningly the total sum of debit side is 0. First step is completed. You have calculated the sum on debit side and you have calculated the sum on credit side. Second step is to see the larger sum. Here make the comparison. 154,000 on debit side and 0 on debit side, 154,000 on credit side. Larger sum is 144. So what you will do? You will choose the larger sum and will write on total of both sides. Here 154,000 on credit side and same larger total you are going to write on opposite debit side, but exactly parallel same row you will choose. Step completed. Next step is to seek which sum is the smaller sum. Here 0 and here 154, it means smaller side is the debit side, so you will choose smaller side over here and will calculate the balance with writing to balance. And here you will observe one more thing. What is happening, you are writing over here balance, but please look at this. The initial balance which was calculated over here, you have calculated this balance on credit side, while now you are calculating this balance in capital ledger, but exactly on opposite side. This is your initial balance, and how you would calculate this initial balance? By subtracting small sum from the larger sum. On calculator, what you will write? Larger sum, and you will subtract this smaller sum from the larger sum, with which you will be able to calculate your initial balance. I was just referring it, you have calculated this balance on credit side when you were making previous ledger of cash, and now you are calculating this balance on debit side. Why? Because you have seen the sum of credit side was smaller over here, so you have chosen the credit side. You will choose the smaller side for calculation of this balance. And now here you have seen that total of debit side was 0, which was the smaller side. That is why you have chosen debit side for calculation of initial balance. So smaller sum would be subtracted from the larger sum. Here you can see that this is your sum of credit side, which is the larger sum 154,000, and you will subtract smaller sum. Here you can see smaller sum was 0. Subtract smaller sum from the larger sum. This way you have calculated your initial balance 154,000. Next step is to bring it down. What you will do? You will bring it down to downward sloping. This way you will bring it down, and you will choose the opposite side. You have calculated initial balance on debit side. Now you will choose credit side, opposite side, and downward sloping, and you are supposed to write the same balance initial on the opposite side but downwards with a twisted name, and that is by balance, but this balance would be with a different name. It is balance brought down. Why we have given this name brought down? Because what you have done, this was your initial balance. First step, you came down and brought it to the other side. That is why it is called balance brought down. So this was the purpose of making capital ledger. Purpose is solved. You have calculated balance brought down for capital ledger. Now it's time to mark it as it has been done by putting a closing line after balance brought down. This is your line. These sums of both sides were calculated just for the reference. Now they are unneeded to be written over here, so you may erase them. This way your ledger for capital is completed. Come again in journal. Now we will see what next ledger we are going to make. You were making capital ledger, and next unmarked element we have seen is furniture. You can see over here it was unmarked and there is no new name furniture, so it's time to make the next ledger. For next ledger, since using my system, it is just easier for me. I will pick these headings and will use same heading for making the new ledger, but you will have to draw again and again all lines, new headings, as you will be working on your papers, so you will not be having this facility of copy pasting. So you will have to work hard, you will have to manage time well. If this question will be present in your paper, you will have to be very active, very cool, very calm, and very focused. Next ledger we are going to make is furniture, as we have already selected the title, and secondly we will change the number as well. This is your third ledger. Alright, now let's focus where furniture would be present. We will select that entry. If furniture would be present on debit side, we will choose debit side of the ledger. If furniture is present on credit side of journal, here you have journal. If furniture is present on credit side, we will choose credit side to put the amount. Let's start our journey. and we are now looking for furniture. So here this is your first entry where furniture is present and furniture is debited by 10,000. So we will go to the furniture account, will write 10,000 on debit side. It's time to see the reference. For furniture, this furniture we have posted on debit side. What is written on the opposite side? 2 capital. So you will use this 2 capital as reference, and it would be written in particular columns as your reference. Reference is completed. It's time to see the date for this 10,000. This 10,000 is posted. Date is January 1A. So go downwards and write the date January 1A. Date written, reference written, amount written, it means posting for this 10,000 for furniture has been completed. So now we can mark it as it is completed, as it is done. We were making ledger for furniture. It's time to see if furniture is present elsewhere. From this point to downward, our search will start. Here we are looking very carefully if furniture is present again. We are up to January 22nd entry and we are looking for furniture. Entries are ended, furniture is not present elsewhere. It means there was only entry related to furniture and we have posted that amount on debit side of furniture. Posting for furniture is completed. It's time to calculate the balance. No matter if it is 1 entry, 2 entry or 3 entry, will have to follow the same step. First step is to calculate the sum of both sides. Sum of debit side is 10,000, as 10,000 is the only amount over here present on debit side. Now it's time to calculate the sum of credit side. Nothing is mentioned over here, so sum of credit side is 0. We have completed the first step. We have calculated sum of debit side and we have calculated sum of credit side. First step is completed. Next is to see which sum is the larger. Here 10,000, here 0. So we have larger sum 10,000 and we will pick this sum and we are going to write this sum on total of both sides. Here on debit side you will write 10,000. This would be written same on credit side as well. You will have to follow the same steps. 10,000 debit side, 10,000 on credit side. Just I'm requesting you to memorize these steps. Instead of just putting pressure on your mind, just memorize it. First step was what? You have calculated sum of both sides 10,000, sum of credit side 0, sum of both sides calculated, choose the larger sum, it is 10,000, and write down on total of both sides the larger sum. Larger sum was 10,000 and you have written on total of both sides. Next step is to see which sum was the larger, which side was the smaller side. This you can see the total of credit side was 0. It means this was the smaller side. Credit side was the smaller side. So here you will choose to write the balance or to calculate the balance. But which balance you will calculate over here? You will here calculate initial balance. And how would you calculate it? By subtracting smaller total from the larger total. So on calculator you will write larger total minus smaller total. So let's calculate this balance. This was your sum of debit side 10,000 and this was sum on credit side 0. So larger sum was 10,000. Put over here and subtract smaller sum. Smaller sum was 0. You will subtract smaller sum from the larger sum. Here you have calculated your initial balance. Next step is what? To bring this balance on the opposite side but downwards. Here you have calculated your initial balance on credit side. You will go opposite side and will go downwards. After total you will write the same balance which you have calculated over here, 10,000, post it, and amount has been brought down. That is why you will change its name. Now it would be called to balance, but you will write what? Brought down with it. Why? Because you have calculated initial balance on opposite side. What you have done? You have came downside and gone to the opposite side. That is why it is called balance brought down, balance BD. Purpose of making any ledger is to calculate balance brought down, and we have calculated balance brought down for furniture. It means Ledger of furniture is totally completed. Mark it as it has been done by putting a closing line after it. It means ledger for furniture is completed. These sums were written just for the reference, and now they are unneeded to be written over here. You may erase them. This way your ledger is completed for furniture. This is not the end of the question. We have just made furniture. You can see the view. All entries which are marked, their ledgers are completed. And you can see these are very few marked entries. There are very few entries which are marked, and remaining majority of entries are still unmarked. Ledgers are to be made, and several other ledgers. I'm just uh, I'm just assuming that around 17 to 18 ledgers would be made, while up till now we have made just 3 ledgers. Let's take a break. We will come again for after break, and we will start our work on making ledger. 3 ledgers are completed, all journal entries are completed, and we will resume our work while making our 4th ledger. Up till then, please take care of yourself and permit me. We will meet soon again. It's a short break, come back, and we will start our 4th ledger. Thank you very much.